Good morning, everybody, and welcome. It's my distinct pleasure to welcome you today for our fourth talk in our AI Distinguished Speaker Series, Shaping Technology to Serve Humanity. It is sponsored by the College of Humanities and Social Sciences in collaboration with the College of Education and Engaged Learning. My name is Arne Kurtz, and I'm the director of Project Ours Lab, an experiential learning opportunity for our students, as well as the co-founder of RIGS, Research in Interdisciplinary and Global Studies. And this year-long series that we started last fall brings together expert insights to our campus to spark critical conversations about the future of technology, society, and education. Education, because today will all be about education. But before winter break, we welcome Dr. Julio Otino and his talk on Beyond Breakthroughs. You probably remember human creativity, break with, and the limits of AI. And today, we have the pleasure to introduce you to another distinguished speaker, Dr. Stephen Balfour, and his talk on designing AI for learning, not convenience, a vision and early progress toward a performance-based course model. So, in a nutshell, what if we're asking AI to do the wrong things in education in general? Rather than automating grading, replacing instruction, or bypassing learning, this talk explores AI as a learning interface through which students demonstrate mastery of instructor-defined knowledge and skills. And so, next to me here is Dr. Balfour, and he's a nationally recognized expert on pedagogy, learning technologies, and metacognition. He has delivered more than 30 talks on teaching and technology, published in peer reviews, research, and frequently advises institutions, such as ours, on the effective integration of digital and AI-enabled learning environments. He's also the chair of the Regents Advisory Committee on Distance Education and serves on the Regents Advisory Committee for Adult Learning. He's a trained cognitive psychologist and has served as a principal investigator on Department of Defense funded projects that involve AI technology-enhanced learning environments and open source media analysis with a total funding exceeding over $900,000. So across research, leadership, and practice, his work is consistently centered on how people learn and how technology can meaningfully enhance that process. Again, it's my pleasure to welcome Dr. Balfour here, and the floor is all his.
Thank you so much. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to try and live up to that introduction now. So so this talk, there's an absent partner here, and that is our Associate Director, James Castle. He is the person who does most of the coding he does all of the coding on this when we're not using coding agents to help us out with it. So I just want to acknowledge that James Castle has done most of the work here. We do the work in consultation. We have a very strong partnership model. Arnaud got to see our Slack history as we were putting this presentation together. It's very interactive. We kind of share our work brain. It's kind of how it works. So first thing I wanted to do, I didn't know exactly who all was going to be here today, but for students in the audience, I wanted you to know that I'm here through a series of accidents. It's a series of accidents, right? In about 1989, the connectionist movement was born in cognitive psychology. It's when we decided to move from the box model, that is long-term memory, short-term memory, long-term memory, all of that, and we started to think about it more as a neural network, an interconnected set of connections. So that's why it's called connectionism. In doing that, I got introduced to Hebbian recurrent networks. Hebbian recurrent networks are the precursors to transformers. So when you get the chat GPT, T is transformer. Hebbian recurrent networks are what make that T able to work. And so I was working on those for way back when, and I was not good at it. So I'm not an expert at that at all. But we were using Lisp code. So for those of you who are old school programmers, And we were building these Hebbian recurrent networks to model human cognition. And the important part about that was we were trying to make sure the computers could forget. You know that computers are not great at forgetting, right? Unless it's your term paper and it's midnight and it's due tomorrow. But we were trying to get computers to forget like humans forget. And so we were modeling the context of what was going on and then treating the computer as a human in trying to remember and to forget things. I was building these Hebbian recurrent networks and working with a fellow graduate student, Andrew Cohen, and that was my first brush with artificial intelligence way back in '89 to '92. Arnaud told you about the Department of Defense contract that I had, and it was an accident. Believe it or not. So what happened is one of our directors, our global engagement director, came to me. I was the director of information technology for the College of Liberal Arts at Texas A&M University at the time. And he said, the Department of Defense has approached us. They want us to be able to use these servers with language learning. They're AI enhanced. What they do is they take in Chinese, Arabic, and Russian language feeds, and they transcribe them in the native script and then translate them into English and create a searchable corpus that you then can after you've searched it, are linked back to the clips. And so you can just pull things up. Well, if you'll remember, from 2008 to 2017, we had a few things happen. Benghazi, Arab Spring, ISIL cleaving off of Al-Qaeda. We watched all of that. We were in fact, monitoring all of that and working with the Department of Defense through all of this. It was an accident that Randy came to my office and he said, hey, can we do this? I said, yes. He said, whose permission do we need? I said yes. And then I went up, and it required a $7,000 investment. And so he said yes, and then I went up to the dean's office and I told the dean what I did with his money. And he was happy. But that's how that project came to me. But then I ended up being principal investigator, writing all of the contracts and things like that, working very closely through that process. Then, in 2017, I was happily working at Texas A&M. I had no intention, really, of going anywhere else. And a friend of mine called me and said, hey, the University of Georgia is looking for a new director of online learning. What do you think? And on a lark, I was like, the person who called me was a former colleague and one who I value working with greatly. Her name is Yakut Ghazi. She is also at Duke University right now. And I was, let's see if we can make this work. And it did turn out that I was able to go to UGA and start this journey. And then, just a few months ago, I was at this conference, the Student Success US conference. And what happened is I was seated across the table from a woman named Fatma, who you all know. We started a conversation, and as your dean, and now I think interim provost now at this point, wow. As we started talking, she was like, I think you probably need to talk to all of us. And so that was an accident, but that's why I'm here. So I wanted you all to know that through this series of accidents, this is capitalizing on the moments of opportunity that you have in life. And I just wanted to be sure that you knew I was here through a series of accidents, but did capitalize on them. And I hope that you all can do that as well as you go through your journeys. So with that very long preamble, the goal of what we're trying to do, we are trying to build a learning system so that a student can use artificial intelligence as their primary interface to the course materials that a faculty member has selected. The faculty member we also want to have design what the learning outcomes are for the course and define what mastery looks like, all right? So that we're teaching the AI what the students are going to need to accomplish and what the markers of accomplishment are going to be, right? That's the point with this. And so the AI is going to be the principal evaluator to see if the student is reaching the learning objectives for this particular, for the particular course. And of course, we're going to break it down. We're going to go to module objectives. We're going to go much lower than that. But the whole point is the AI is then working with the student and presenting the right materials at the right time for the right kind of learning and keeping the student in the proximal zone of development the whole time. So providing them just that little extra challenge every single time they interact with each other. And it's interacting towards the goal of meeting what the faculty member has said the course should do. Right? That's the vision, and that's what we want to do. So we're not there yet. But we have 4 projects that are all feeding up to this, and I'm going to show you how we're getting to this particular point. Now, this is a team. I mean, it's a pretty small team working on this. So we've been enabled by a lot of AI tools, and if you all are not using some of the AI coding assistants, I would highly encourage you, if you are working in code, think about Cursor. So we used to use GitHub's Copilot, and we were getting about 3 times our productivity out of it. With Cursor, which is an AI coding assistant, we're about 20 times as productive as we used to be. Some things that now used to take us a month to do are taking a day. I am wildly impressed with Cursor, wildly impressed. All right, so AI is a critical skill. You all probably know that most employers at this point in time, for students who are college educated, most of these employers are asking for students who are AI literate. And they don't exactly know what they mean, unless they're JP Morgan Chase, right? Because JP Morgan has a program to actually train all of their workers, 300,000 workers, in the area that they are working in using AI to further their business. So they have a formal program to do this. If you are sending students to JP Morgan and they are graduating from your programs and going into that working environment, the first thing they're going to do is get introduced to their team of agents that's going to help them. And so you want to be sure that your students are comfortable in an environment like that, where they're going to be given a team of agents to work with. So maybe I don't need to do any more to convince you that this is an essential skill, but educators have identified, yes, this is something we need to teach. But it's really, really hard, right? Because most of us are not experts in AI. We use the AI, we use the chat interface. We try and get it to do what we want it to do. Sometimes it gives us a good image. Sometimes it doesn't give us a good image. Oftentimes it hallucinates. All of these things happen. So what we try to do is, for helping people become more literate, the first thing you need to do is all the foundational things. So you start with prompt engineering, being able to get through the environments, being able to get exactly what it is that you want. But there's a second step that I'll talk about in more detail, and that second step is honing your AI to your business processes. You've got to help people make the connection between learning how to prompt and learning how to use AI in their business environment. That's the critical step. That's where you will lose people. You'll get 3 weeks of functionality out of somebody if you teach them prompt engineering. You need to then bring them into the business environment with that AI so they can start using it. So that's a critical component of AI literacy, and one that we're often missing. All right, so if you look at the literature, you'll see that most people have figured out that it is critical that everyone can take the output from an LLM and really evaluate it in a disciplinary context. That is, use your expert knowledge to see what's good, what's bad, what needs iteration, what is nonsense, what's hallucination, right? You need that expert evaluation. So almost the whole field has figured out that is a critical step at this point in time. But what we don't see, I looked through the literature in technology and enhanced learning, and I couldn't find anyone talking about faculty members modeling deep use of AI in a disciplinary context and talking through with their students. Here's what I got from the LLM. Here's what I thought was important about it. Here's what wasn't good. But really exposing their thinking to their students so their students can see how is an expert using AI. And it's both inspirational, but it's also very educational. In what questions do I ask? How do I refine? How do I figure out what it is that's important in what the LLM has given to me? So that part is not being done, and it's not being written about right now. So that's an opportunity. All of you in the College of Education, please, if steal that idea, please. I remember when I was a graduate student, and I used to work in my lab, and I thought I didn't want to share any of my ideas because I thought, someone might steal them. And now I realize every lab is fully busy and has a research agenda going out for 5 years, so good luck getting your ideas into my lab. But so that's just a thing to think about there. AI is good at a lot of interesting things, right? It's good at sifting through organization. Now, I want to also say, this is from a business context. I'm taking this from a student moving into the workforce kind of perspective. So AI is really good at sifting through a lot of information and helping you find what's important in there. It's good at organizing data, organizing material. It's good at helping you think through your initial drafts. It's really good at inspiring you. So there's no blank page syndrome anymore. There really isn't. Go to the AI, say, hey, I'm having blank page syndrome. Please help me start this paper on, and it will. And I think that's the thing to really, if there's one takeaway from this whole talk that you have, it's please use that AI as an assistant, as a coach all the time. When you get stuck, ask the AI, just tell the AI, I'm stuck. Here's what I'm stuck on. Can you help me get over this? And it will. I know that sounds amazing, but it will. And I know that in some of my teaching talks earlier, or late last year, I told people, hey, take your syllabus, put it into Notebook LLM, that Google tool, right, that will take in 50 documents, and it'll use that as the source that then the LLM, the LM, because it's a small language model, not a large language model, but that LM will then use that as the source. But it fell flat because faculty members weren't ready to hear, you need to interact with the AI. I didn't set them up for success there. So I'm trying to set you up for success. When you get stuck, ask the AI. It will help you through. It really will. And if you're an expert in the area, you're going to be evaluating it. It will give you ideas. Might not give you the right answer. Probably won't give you the right answer. Always ask it for options. Don't ask it for answers. But then you'll be able to select what's important about that and move forward. So humans are also really good at some things that AI is not good at. Relationship building, empathy, judgment. These are all things, those are the human skills. All of our students must be skilled in these things because as they work with AI companions in their workforce, when they get into the workforce, they're going to need to capitalize on the things that humans are good at. And that's very critical. I spent too much time on that slide. Sorry about that. So here's the deeper dive into the business process slide. If you've never heard of Nate Jones, he has a YouTube channel. He does like 10 videos a week, so it's a lot. You can get on his free plan, and you'll get like 1 video a week. He's very insightful. He's an industry practitioner. He's been doing this for a long time. He's got some really good views on that. And one of the things that he has really focused on is helping people move from prompting to actually using AI in business. And that is, if you start to look at AI literacy, one of the things that is really hard to comprehend for those of us who were trained in coding in the 1980s, like I was, we were trained to learn how to code, like learn the coding environment, learn the logic. How does the logic give you the product that you want? You know, it really focused on that. That's not how AI literacy works. AI literacy works best when you are an expert at a business process, because then you can use the AI to reevaluate your business process, to help you do whatever it is that you wanted to do to improve that business process. But you have to know your process well enough to know when the AI is giving you something that will be helpful and when the AI is giving you something that will not be helpful or might be harmful. And so that's the critical leap, is getting into the business process. And that's the reason why sometimes CEOs and business managers are better at using AI than frontline workers. Because sometimes frontline workers don't have the full picture. And that's something that I think we need to change. Right? We're going to be restructuring industries over these tools, I believe. I truly believe that. I'm working with our masters in professional accounting right now. And let me tell you, if you think through what's going on with browsers, the Comet browser, right? It's Perplexity's browser. It has agents in the window. So the agents are seeing everything that the human's seeing in the browsing context, right? If you put a test, an accounting test, in that window, Perplexity will answer all the questions correctly. It will. And so we're thinking about, what does accounting have to look like now as we're educating our students? Like, how do we teach them how to use AI and learning accounting principles so that they can be critical evaluators of LLM accounting output? And this is not going to be an easy challenge. This is going to be something that the accounting field has to rise to. And we're taking some small steps to it at our institution right now. But it's really important. So what I've done is I've actually just gone to my next slide. Whoops, I'm way ahead of myself. So that's the credentialing challenge that we face. That's why some people are saying, we can't have agentic browsers in college curriculum. And what our solution was, so when we came across this problem, we've been asked from folks across our campus and across campuses as we've talked at conferences, what do we do about agents in browsers? How do we continue the learning enterprise in this way? What are we going to do about tests and quizzes? The answer we've formulated was, well, what if we don't have tests and quizzes? What if it's the case that the system the student is using to learn is actually evaluating the student's progress as the student is interacting with the materials? As they get more facile with the material, they're going more quickly between readings. You can see the more expert behavior as they're summarizing things, as they're actually accessing sources that are related to each other from a faculty member's perspective rather than randomly going through whatever's happening. As they're looking at data and they're formulating questions and they're starting to figure out how they're going to answer those questions, right? If the AI is there watching, monitoring, coaching, helping, then it's getting a sense for student progress without a test and without a quiz and without a paper. And I think that's going to be critical in figuring out, I think that's one possible path. It's the path we're working on, and that's why we're doing this particular project, because we think that this is going to be a way to really level up education and also help students be very successful at both their disciplinary pursuits and artificial intelligence literacy, so AI literacy, as they're going forward. That's the premise and why we're doing what we're doing. All right, so I told you we haven't done that yet, but we have done 4 things. And these are the 4 things. I'm sorry about the text on the slide, too, by the way. But this is going to be the outline for I'm going to walk you through these 4 projects and what we've done. And I'll try to touch on these. These are in the order in which they are fully developed at this point in time. So our AI course starter project is pretty awesome, and I can't wait to show it to you. But some of these, like our course coaching agents, are in the first stages, and I can tell you what we need to do to make those better now. So, a course starter. So, faculty members, they are experts in their disciplines, right? And living in their discipline is really healthy for them. They're happy when they're doing the research, even when the research comes out wrong. At least it's interesting. But faculty members in their disciplinary context are often very happy and very fulfilled, and they're working towards their goals in their discipline. But when we as instructional designers or learning technologists come in and we say, all right, please write me some learning objectives, we've just taken them out of their disciplinary context. Unless they are in the College of Education, and this is something that they normally do, that's like okay, wait a minute, what is that? And so this is the first step of taking them out of their context. But then we ask them, okay, now input these into a learning management system. So now you have to learn the learning management system and the technology, and then you have to get it to display the way you want it to in the places that you want it to. And all of a sudden, you're way outside your disciplinary context, because there is no degree in learning management system. That's not a PhD, as far as I know. So we've moved the faculty member out of their areas of expertise, which is harming their ability to do great work. I believe in a strengths-based philosophy. I believe that people who are working in their areas of strength are going to be more productive, more happy, more fulfilled, and they're going to be able to do incredible things. The key there is to pair people with different strengths together so that you can get everything you need accomplished, right? Faculty members strengthen the discipline. I want to keep them there. I want to do everything I can to help a faculty member stay in their areas of strength. So what we do, this is a little bit of a video, and I'll narrate over the top of it. All right, so faculty member walking to class has lots of things on their mind, grading, everything. And they have to put their course together. So they have a syllabus, they have a course schedule, they have a list of projects, and other documents that might be relevant. They take all of those documents, they used to give them to us, and it goes into the course starter process, and then all of our agents move in, rip everything apart, looking for very particular things, course objectives, descriptions, different sorts of things, and it makes all of those, it takes everything there that would need to go into the learning management system, all the course descriptions, learning outcomes, all the structure that needs to be in the course, and then using API routes, that is just computer-to-computer talking, our AI then puts it in the LMS. And this is what it looks like. So a faculty member gives us their syllabus, and then we output this in the learning management system for them. It is an editable template. It has suggestions on discussions, suggestions for activities, and it'll give them a project suggestion for the whole class. That keeps the faculty member in their area of strength, and it lets them edit instead of trying to go in and build something in the learning management system and try to formulate all these things. Because what's going to happen, our course starter system will output the course description, outputs the course learning objectives, figures out how many course modules that it looks like your syllabus has, creates a module for each one of those, does the module, writes the module introduction, writes the module learning objectives, suggests 3 project activities, 3 discussion prompts, and then a project for the whole class. That's all done by the AI system, okay? And then it outputs it in the LMS for editing. Notice, we've done no content work, right? We've done nothing to help you figure out which articles you're going to put in your course, what videos you're going to put in your course, and that's all up to the faculty member. They build the content to support the course they've chosen to build. So that was the original iteration of the Course Starter project. Now, and if you want to get under the hood, this is what is going on with the agents that we have. So we have a document transcription agent, we have a document analysis agent, and then what they're doing is that they take in those different documents and they put them all together and figure out what is it that is actually the course description, what are the actual learning objectives. Learning objectives from the course are generally just repeated exactly as they are stated in the syllabus, unless the syllabus doesn't have them. So we've very much limited AI hallucinations in our work, and we do that by constraining the context that the AI has access to. So when an AI is hallucinating, it's generally pulling information generally rather than very specifically. And by constraining the context, pulling that AI down to a very specific thing that it's doing, it doesn't have the chance to hallucinate because it only has the documents to work with that you've given it. And it's not the complete solution to hallucination. Hallucination can still happen in those instances, but this is one way that you can reduce the hallucinations by narrowing what it is that the AI has access to. We then have 2 agents, one that checks for narrative. Narrative agent? What's a narrative agent? Well, most of our courses that we work with are graduate courses. So those courses have to be pitched at the right level. They have to use the right level of vocabulary. They have to have the right sets of concepts in them. So this, what's going on with the narrative QA, that's an agent that's just watching the process, and it sees the outputs coming out and goes, wait a minute, you used the word delve in there again, like I told you not to. Take it out. Because you know that it hallucinates delve all the time. And M dashes, right? That's how you can tell. AI output, lots of M dashes in it. Well, we have agents that monitor both content and narrative to be sure that it looks like a human is outputting what we're doing. And what happens when our course starters come out? It doesn't have M dashes, it doesn't have delve, it doesn't have any of those things. It looks like what a human would have produced. And we take great pride in making sure that it looks like what a human could produce. And we've got lots of agents to make sure we can do that. These image generations, they don't exist yet. So we're not sure we're going to pursue that, but it's an interesting idea to be able to think about the images that you want to introduce your course. You know that every LMS sort of has that front page that you can kind of describe what your course is. So what if you generate images that are specifically relevant to your course? Like you don't need to hunt around stock, Adobe stock or anything like that, but rather just generate the images that convey what you would like your students to see. So the image is helping to orient students to your material as well. So we're working on that flow right now. So here's what the course starter looks like now. So I've shown you the basics, I've shown you what goes on under the hood, but what we've got right now is that the instructor can open up the learning management system and they just see this page. It's a widget in our system. We use Brightspace, which is a Desire to Learn product. I'm not sure if we could do all this stuff in Canvas. I'm not sure what you're using, but with Brightspace, we can definitely do all of this. And this is a live, this isn't the live demo, but this is exactly what it looks like. And so the faculty member logs in, they open up their course, and the first thing they see is you are on the initialize step. And with the initialize step, please upload your syllabus. And then, do you have anything you want to tell us? And so they do this inside the LMS, right? And they're typing all of this stuff in. Then it'll move them to the next stage. It says something to the effect of, here's what I've generated as your course description. Bam, there it is in the box. You want to edit it? And if you edit it, then it will take your edited version and it will become canonical in the system. So it's giving the faculty member the ability to interact as the course starter is being created so that they can better tailor at each step what they want this to look like. And we started this process because it took 10 minutes for the course starter to generate the output, and you just sit there waiting 10 minutes. That doesn't make any sense, right? But then we made it interactive, and we made it possible for the faculty member to enhance the output of the LLM as it was working. And so this is a better product. So you can see that you can make lots of choices about your course. It will then, as you go through all the steps, it'll get you to thinking about how you want to do your activities, what you'd like to do, and then you hit that deploy button, and the agent goes away, and all the course materials created in the LMS, just the way that you edited it, just the way that you wanted it, and then it's yours. And that widget just goes away out of the course, and then you're able to use that course in the ways that you want to. Edit it, add content, do more things with it, but then it's ready to go. So that's our course starter project, and I'm really, really proud of it. I think it does good things in keeping faculty members in their area of strength, providing a really, really exceptional course for students, and giving the faculty member a lot of agency as they're interacting with the AI to be able to say, this is really what I'd like it to look like. Please tailor it this way, these sorts of things. It gives the faculty members a great deal of control over this. This is the first step to being able to have an agent that will work with a student to help the student meet the learning objectives. Because it's going to be looking at the learning objectives for the course and for the module. And the module objectives, most faculty members don't usually write module objectives, but the AI will, and the AI is going to query the faculty member for what success, what mastery of those module objectives actually looks like. So this is the first, this is the chassis. The next project that we have is a module feedback form. Looks really simple, which is what we wanted. This is Qualtrics embedded in our learning management system. And all we're doing is we're asking them for the module that you just participated in. This is not an end-of-course evaluation. You know that end-of-course evaluations are all based on retrospective memory, right? Good luck. They are biased. There are lots of different things that go on with them. Just a difficult thing to deal with. But this lives in your LMS. At the end of each module, we put the module feedback form in. Did this module help you learn? 0 to 5. Any feedback for us? And so it's that simple. Rate it 1 to 5. Tell us then anything else that you thought. Well, sometimes what a student will type in there was, in the reading, the PDF that you gave me, page 3 was upside down. We've gotten that one. We've gotten things about YouTube video links broken, all sorts of things like that. But what happens if nobody looks at that module feedback until the end of the course? It doesn't help anybody, right? So we have AI agents looking at the qualitative feedback. The AI agents, they don't care about the rating, because a student could say, this is a 5, but all your links are broken. As soon as the AI agent detects something that's urgent, it will kick it over to our Slack channel and put it in front of our instructional designers, so that our instructional designers can jump on it the minute that they need to. And that's an immediate feedback for us. So that will help us improve those courses instantly. And the faculty member has access to all of this feedback as well. We just get notified when it's an urgent sort of thing. But all the rest of this goes into a Google Sheet that the faculty member has. And that helps them to improve the course. But the key part of this is actually that evaluation of the student output. And again, this is a component of the larger system, right? Because our system, if we're going to build it to an AI agent that's working with the student to help them achieve learning objectives, it's got to be able to evaluate what that student is actually saying. What are they, like when they're typing in to the LMS, or sorry, to the context window in the AI, what is it they mean? And you'll see another example of how we're getting more deeply at the meaning. But this is like that first step of being able to evaluate qualitative content. To really make it messy, this is the big workflow for the entire module. This is in a system called N8N. So if you are doing any work in this environment, N8N is an orchestration tool. It is actually a workflow management tool. So you can use it to build deterministic processes as well as building agentic processes. So it works, it's really helpful for setting up your workflow. We're going to focus on the check for notification because that's the AI part. So in the AI part, what's happening is in the LLM fields come in, it gets sent to a switch that's looking basically at, was it a high or a low score? But then it gets to the AI agent, and that AI agent is using OpenAI to then evaluate that and see, is this an urgent message? If it is an urgent message, then what happens is you see the structured output parser. Super important. To have two agents that can talk to each other in AI, you have to have the expected output from one agent to input for the other agent, right? And one of the things you know about working with these AIs is that it gives you human sounding or often not regular expressions back. Like when you ask it questions, it puts it in a novel response. It's designed to do that. It's designed to look novel. Well, a structured output parser, what it does is it forces it into the format that the other agent expects. So it's a critical component of multi-agent systems. So I'm just highlighting that. ChatGPT does that natively. And then it just sees, do I need to send this to a Slack channel? And if it does send it to the Slack channel. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. It just goes to the faculty member sheet. So that's the important thing about the workflow here. Get a sip of water. Sorry about that. OK. I love this tool. So we do market research. One of the things, so our office at UGA Online, we are essentially an online program manager that's completely internal to our own institution. So we do everything from the market research to helping students as they're working towards graduation. We have the whole life cycle. So we have marketing and we have enrollment services and all of that. So when we're doing market research, we're often trying to tell what is an area that we would like to put a new program out online. And so what we've done here is put up what the MBA looks like. And in the MBA, you can see that Harvard's at the top, University of Florida, and this is being done by the number of conferrals, the number of people who graduate from these programs per year. So that's what's going on in that top part. But what you can't see really well is this research prompt. Describe to me what else you'd like to know. So within the context of the market research that we've provided for them, they can now ask a question. Well, I'd really like to know, I'd like a tuition comparison between these 5 schools. So you can type that, and it'll do it. And that's a neat part of it. Now, to do that, we have to be able to interpret the request. And that is a key component of what we're going to do as we're building this system for students to interact with course materials. It's interpreting that request. What did they really mean? And it's testing its assumptions on this. And we're using a fairly powerful GPT for this one, because we're using 5.1, the model, OpenAI's 5.1 model. And we're really trying to determine what is it doing. And do you have any questions about what the person has asked? So it could come back and say, I didn't quite understand you. What did you want? Tuition, including all of tuition, or do you want tuition and fees? What is it? How were you trying to look at this? And so it could come back with questions to help you refine what it is that you're looking for in the market analysis. But then it will output what it does. This is the disambiguation agent, but let's go to the research parser. So this is the research planner. What it does is after it has a pretty good idea of what it is that you would like to do, it then starts the research planning process. And in this, I think, so for this one, we're using OpenRouter, and OpenRouter is a router that lets you use whatever LLM you want to. And most of the time when we're doing this type of work, we're going to be using Perplexity instead of like OpenAI or something like that. So if you all are not using the Perplexity browser, give that a shot. The paid version of it does amazing market research. It finds things that humans overlook pretty easily. So we use generally Perplexity for this, and then it puts the plan together, and it outputs that as a Google Doc, and it actually puts that Google Doc in the person's drive so that they can just open up the Google Doc and have their market research right there. So we did this to save ourselves time, because we always get asked these questions. The course coaching agent is the one that we're currently working on the most. Now, I'm going to go ahead. James Castle is not live, but his voice is recorded here, so I'm going to let you hear James talk to you about this agent.
I just wanted to make a quick video to document what I would call a very minimally functional AI agent working in Brightspace. So what we have here is a React app that is running natively in Brightspace. You can see it's just located within a submodule here. And currently, what I've given this thing the ability to do is if I click index content, it's going to detect the root level module that it is in. In this case, it's this Learning Assistant Development module. It's going to find all of the content across that module and any submodules, determine that type of content, and then index it to a vector database. Currently, we're only indexing HTML pages, but ultimately, we would want to index all of the content. So once we've indexed that content, we can do retrieval augmented generation using the information from those pages, all right?
So what this system is doing that's really important, it is constraining the context for the LLM. Like, we're trying to build hallucination proof as much as you can, but it's trying to constrain the context. Think about this. If you are in the middle of a calculus course and you are trying to learn something and you're stuck, say you want AI to help you explain things. So you go to your commercial ChatGPT platform and you ask it, hey, help me get unstuck with this particular calculus problem that I have. Well, it's going to draw from all of the knowledge across the internet, and it's going to help you. And it might not help you the way you want to be helped. That is, it may be a solution you've never even heard of before, because that solution would have occurred in module 15 of a 15-week course. What this is doing is it's localizing. So module 1 will only have module 1 content in it. Module 2 will have module 1 and module 2 content in it. Module 3 will have module 1, 2, and 3 content in it. And so through this method, the students get the information in the context of where they are at their developmental stage with that particular disciplinary material. And it's really important because it's meeting them where they are, and it's starting to form that basis for that zone of proximal development. We're starting to learn this is where the student is. This is the extra challenge we need to provide to help that student learn. It's not this much challenge, it's this much challenge. And that's what the system's designed to do. And that's going to be a critical component of our eventual full system. So, what's next? I wish I knew. First thing, we are working with an AI platform company called Aria. Aria has a platform that you can build AI agents in. You can do very simple agents in it, but it's got the enterprise version has an important component in it, which is guardrails. This system can prevent you from inputting your credit card number into an LLM. It will catch that, and it'll say, oh, you didn't mean to do that, and it'll kick it out. The guardrails on this system, it also has logging and monitoring so that you can see what your students are asking and what outputs the LLM is giving them. And you might think Big Brother, but God forbid, what happens if a student puts some message of self-harm, or I need help, or I feel like I'm sick, or something like that? Well, the guardrails will catch that and route it to a human so that the human can then start to intervene with the student. So the guardrails are critically important. I've seen faculty members creating commodity ChatGPT agents and putting them live in an LMS. And I know that they don't know what their students are asking. They don't know what the LLM is responding with. They don't know what's going on in that. And that's not good for learning. And it could be not good for students. And so these guardrails that the ARIA platform has are critical. And they'll stop the accidental dumb things that I would do, like putting my social security number someplace that it shouldn't be. But it'll also catch those really hard to detect situations that need human intervention now, right now. So that's a critical component of a student-facing agent. By the way, a faculty-facing agent too, or a staff-facing agent. So we're getting everything into the ARIA platform so we can get those guardrails activated and make sure that we have a safe learning environment, that we know how it's all working. And by the way, that logging is necessary, again, to know where the student is. Like, if I'm designing that extra little challenge, I need to know where the student is, and I need to understand what's that next thing that they're going to be that they need to progress. So these are critical tools here. So ARIA is going to be central to our development there. And we are going, with ARIA and the tools you've seen so far, this summer we're launching some calculus tutorials. So we're working with 2 math faculty members at UGA, and what we're doing is we're getting their take on calculus, and we're trying to build these agents that operate in the way that I've told you about. That is, that very staged amount of support for the student. That is, the student is in week 3, so they're getting week 3, 2, and 1 information. So we should have something successful there. Things are looking good for the development right now, and I'm pretty confident that this is going to be really helpful to our students learning calculus. The last part is we have these 4 projects, and they're all sort of in different systems. We've got to figure out how to bring them all together into one agentic system. And so we'll probably be doing that using ARIA as one of the components, but ARIA is not a platform that you have to use. ARIA can be called from other applications. So we're trying to figure out the right balance right now for how much of this needs to be in a commercial platform and how much of this can continue to be in our coded platform. I should tell you that we started out by working on chat interfaces just like everybody else did. But really rapidly, we learned that we needed different input from different models. And so we quickly moved into orchestrating LLMs, using particular LLMs for the things that they're really good at, right? And then building that orchestration layer like N8N was, so that folks can put all of that together. From there, it was a tiny leap for us to move into programming our own agents. And so we've been coding our own agents for over a year now. And I have to tell you, these agent software platforms have just come out, and our agents don't fit in them because we didn't know what parameters they were going to have on those. So our agents are a little weird. They're a little more polymorphic. They do a little bit more. They like context a lot more than the platforms do. And so our agents don't necessarily fit into this particular platform. And that's why we're having this, how do we optimize for all the different things that we need to build this entire system that would live with our LMS and with our students. So those are probably the 3 things that are next on our roadmap. With that, I just want to remind you what we're trying to do is build this system. I've mentioned it 100 times now, but that is in fact what our goal is and how we're building towards it. Those are the 4 projects that we have, and that's all I have for you today.
Thank you so much, Steve, for this fascinating talk. We'll open it up now to Q&A, and Evelyn as well as Lynn have mics here. So if you have a question and or comment, we're here for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Hey.
Hi. Thank you so much. The presentation is fantastic. So by the way, I'm Yan Lin. I'm the VP of Instructional Design and Technology Services. Mm-hmm. So a lot of components talk about very much related to the work we have been doing for the university. So I guess my question is, we have been playing the different AI technologies, how we could take advantage of AI technologies for course design. I guess the first part to talk about the course start project sounds like right now a lot of top AI technology can do these type of things. your inputs, syllabus, your inputs, learning outcomes, objectives.
Your
they
rubrics.
create, yes. But I'm very impressed. The project just demoed actually make the interface very user-friendly. You have modalities, you have other things. I wonder how student analysis you have inputted into the process. For example, the course is provided for freshman students, maybe other type of students with different background. How you take care of that?
That's a great question, a great question. So how is it that we're adjusting for the student's level when we're building a course starter? So a freshman course, a general survey course versus a graduate course, or something that's really highly technical in nature. And so that's actually the first part of the agentic process, and in part of what you saw some of those agents and what they're doing. They're parsing the documents that the faculty member are giving to them. And that's determining things like the language level. It's the documents often also say things like introduction, or, by the way, if you've ever used a chat application for trying to build a course before, what you'll realize is that native chat agent, that's the commodity off the shelf, it's going to assume everything's an introductory course, right? And so if you ask it for something, it's going to give you everything that might occur in that particular topic area. And so what we're doing is we're constraining it. An introductory course will have a broader range of material in it, and the AI will detect that. And so that's one way that we could do this. But really, it's the language level, what the faculty member tells us about the course, a lot of different things there that will help us gauge the level. And then we have those two quality control agents, the one looking at narrative and the one looking at content. And that content is comparing the content that the faculty member has in their syllabus with what else is out there on the web. And before you get too worried about that, remember that OpenStax exists, and that's a whole bunch of textbooks that are free and available to everyone. And it'll look at and see, are we doing something that looks reasonable from what I know, from what's out there on the web? Does that help with your question?
Thank you.
All right.
Very quick follow-up. Are you using this method right now only for online programs courses or online courses?
Are we using this only for online courses and online programs? At the moment, sort of yes. Sort of yes. We've worked with about somewhere between 2 and 3 dozen faculty members, not necessarily online. We needed a broad range of syllabi because getting an AI agent to parse a syllabus is not a trivial task, right? Think about all the syllabuses you have seen in your life. Think about how different they were. Bill Graziano's book-long syllabus, like 40 pages of things versus, a syllabus that might be 1 page, right? And they might have all different elements in it. So one of the things we needed to do is figure out how to parse all those syllabi really, really closely.
Great. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, thank you.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us. I'm kind of intrigued by the coaching aspects of the agents. I'm a clinical psychologist.
Okay.
And so I'm wondering about aspects that we can build in to help students facilitate a growth mindset, for example, reflect on their values, and that might enhance their self-efficacy and make them more competent in the course and more confident in the course. Just wondering about those aspects.
Okay, so if I've got your question correctly, you're asking about what these coaching agents could do. Like, how do we increase growth mindset for students, self-efficacy, and I think that there's a part of this in which it's emotional monitoring, right? Like, how is the student feeling in this particular course? So what I can tell you is we haven't built that yet. But it's in development, and it is something that we've thought about. I was at a talk in which some other brilliant speaker was talking to me, and they said, what we need to do is to be able to evaluate how the student feels, because you don't want to present complicated material to a frustrated student. What if your student is clicking along and they're doing really well, and you see this progressive pattern of doing well, then yes, give them the more complex material. But if you start to detect those markers of frustration, start to realize the student's not in the best learning mindset yet. And so how do you help them now get back into a less frustrated and better learning mindset? So I think what you're saying absolutely critical, something we've got to figure out. If you want to work on it, let's work on it. But it is a part of what we're trying to develop, because we know that these agents are going to need to be emotionally aware. We know that, and we're trying to build them such that they are. So great question, but I don't have a solution. Don't have a solution for you yet.
Dr. Balfour.
Oh, yes.
Thank you. Excellent presentation. Really appreciate it. I want to come back to the student for just 1 second. Something you said earlier in the presentation really struck me, and that is you work very hard to have everything that's appearing look like it was written by a human.
Yes.
How do you know the students aren't doing the same thing, right? Our job is to provide them with a certain level of, we're certifying that they have reached a certain level of competency. How does the system make sure that we are actually providing that sort of accreditation for them?
Right, yes, no, so the accreditation, that credentialing is super, super important, yes. So that's what we're building towards. It is not where we are yet, right? So we're building towards that particular goal. Getting this output to look like a human put it together is really hard. It takes multiple agents working together with structured output between the agents to be able to produce something that looks like a human wrote it. If a student's able to do that, I want them on my team. So that would be my answer. So we had 2 questions here.
I have a question.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So I'm a management professor, as well as an entrepreneurship professor. And I really appreciated the look behind the scene. My question relates to how much this has cost your institution.
Ah, good question.
I would ask that, business school. And then the related question is, I can actually see from that presentation of the different orchestration AI tools that you use, that the knowledge base you're drawing on far surpasses what other institutions might have. How do you afford that? And where are you able to source those people? Because they're really very scarce. Pretty impressive, though. I enjoyed the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. So the cost is a great question. And I can tell you that one of the things that we're going to look for with the ARIA platform is it does help us to manage costs. So the ARIA platform does allow you to set budgets on projects, and when you set a budget, it won't go above that particular budget. Many of the things that you saw generated up here, they were around 28 cents to do. Some of them a lot less, some of them a couple of cents. Some models require dollars worth of material. So, but that's the scale that we're talking about right now, is like $3 for us is a big budget for a project, for project output. Across the institution, I mean, obviously, if we turn these on across the institution, everybody's using them, then that number will go up very, very quickly, right? And so we're going to need that ability to set budgets. You saw me reference OpenRouter up there. OpenRouter does the same thing. It allows you to set a budget for each LLM so that you won't exceed that particular budget. I see that you stood back up, though. Oh, okay, sorry.
So yes, I mean, costs can be lowered because, of the efficiencies that you're deploying. What you're not answering is, how much does it cost to get people to build that system? Because you're using very scarce human knowledge.
Yep. Got you.
While also, and I hate to say this because I love the instructional design team here, are you actually also eliminating some of the jobs that exist at UGA?
We hope we're eliminating the terrible things that nobody likes to do. That is truly the case. So to go first on the human cost of building these. You're correct. It does take a lot of effort to build these. And I do have the ability to work with the folks on our team and allocate the resources that are necessary to do this. We're doing this because we see a need that is not going to be met by anything else. We haven't seen a single LMS company or learning technologies company building towards a system that's going to defeat the idea of agents in browsers. Like, tech companies don't want to solve that problem, right? They don't want to solve that problem. We're going to solve that problem. But we have to solve that problem, right? This is critical for what we're going to do in higher education, how we're going to credential our students, being sure that they're both disciplinary experts as well as AI literate. So I view this as a critical imperative, and I'm willing to allocate resources to be sure that we can accomplish this. So that's the first part of your answer. Now, the folks we have working on this, James Castle and me, we have our team. Our team is working very broadly with N8N for other processes. We have a lot of people who are writing React apps and starting to work with that. And those are our instructional designers, by the way, looking at you. Our instructional designers' work is shifting. Yes, it's true. But we're not eliminating any positions. It's the case that now what our instructional designers can do is focus on those more human elements and the more judgment-oriented elements. And they're doing that effectively. You can talk to your instructional designers, and they will tell you the hardest part of their job is making that connection and keeping it healthy and making sure materials come in on time so that they can get their job done. You know, they're always struggling with that because faculty members have very different priorities than getting a course built, right? I was on a faculty search committee just this last month, and I will tell you that in case you've never been on a faculty search committee before, the faculty members on the search committee will rearrange their schedules to make sure they can make that candidate's interview. They will do everything in their power to change their schedules, to collaborate with people, and get into that room when that person's going to be there. That is not the case with instructional design, and she can tell you that, right? That is not that high of a priority to them. And so what we're trying to do is give our instructional designers the ability to address those hard challenges and give them more time to work with the humans and get this human element right. Sorry for not getting your question right the first time. Hey.
Hello, doctor. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about you?
So I had a question regarding kind of like the grading process, and you might have touched on it earlier, and I might have zoned out, so that might be my bad.
I think I left one thing out. I think I know what you're going to ask. Go for it.
So if I have this right, in your proposed scenario with the program, the teacher inputs what they would like for their modules and such. And you also highlighted a proposed sort of, I guess, utopia of no tests or quizzes, which, you know, I'm all for. So in this proposed scenario, the student goes through the modules and the teacher sort of kind of checks the progress of the student. So that in place of tests and quizzes, the student is just keeping up with, you know, the module, making sure they fulfill the requirements. I might be missing something, but is there something, what is the teacher doing to sort of do like grade the student in that respect? Because at least the way I'm envisioning it, it seems kind of like, oh, the student hits the check mark and I don't have to do anything, if that makes sense.
Right. You're correct. I left something out. So thank you for calling attention to that. I appreciate it. And very perceptive, by the way. So with the way that we've envisioned this AI agent working interactively with the student, the agent would determine when it thinks the student has met mastery for those particular goals and then kick it over to the faculty member for evaluation. Right? The AI is not going to make the evaluation by itself. It's going to kick it over, and the evidence that it believes the student has met that mastery condition, it's going to kick it over to the faculty member. The faculty member is also serving as a second-level coach, right? So the AI is the first-level coach, and it's working with the context, with the content in the context of that course where the student is. But the faculty member is still a second-level coach. And what we're envisioning doing is building dashboards for the faculty member so that they can see where all their students are, what they've accomplished, about what level of mastery they've currently attained, and anybody who's lagging behind, who might need some extra attention. But remember what I said about humans. Humans are really good at relationship building, they're good at judgment, they're good at critical thinking. Well, we want the faculty member to serve in that capacity within their course. So we don't want it to be hands-off. In fact, faculty members have a lot of knowledge that we know where our students get stuck every time, right? We know the hard concepts in our courses. We have all developed some ways to help students get over that hump. Sometimes we've been able to encode those into a learning management system or our learning materials. Sometimes it's really, I just have to sit down with you and we need to talk, right? That's what we want. We want faculty members to be doing that. We want them to be looking at material after the AI said, I think this is good enough. But we also want them to have that dashboard so they can say, well, I've got a couple students who are really close to mastery. Why haven't they kicked over the top yet? And then that lets the faculty member get in touch with them. Or I have 5 students who haven't done this yet. I need to send them a note to motivate them a little bit. So thank you for your question. I left that out of the talk, and I'm really, really glad you asked it.
Hi, Dr. Balfour.
Hey.
Thank you so much for your talk. My name is John, Director of Teaching and Learning for the Center for Teaching and Academic Innovation. I would really love to, like on behalf of faculty and students here, I would really love your input on maybe the general implications that this presents for faculty and any advice and suggestions you have for faculty. And it seems like you also touched on the epistemological shift of what's going on, right? Particularly with your, I think, compelling example with the accounting field. I just maybe would love to know your insight on maybe how that might touch on the kind of universe of education, so to speak.
That's a huge question. I don't know how to do that. So I would say, wow. Yeah, it's a huge question. I think that a lot of the solutions that we develop are going to be inherently disciplinary. I don't believe that we're going to have a general way to address all of this. What accountants care about and the things that they're worried about right now are not the same things that some folks in chemistry are worried about. And I can tell you that even when we're working with the folks in calculus, they're like, LLMs do really terrible job at outputting math notation, so it's not a problem for us. We've actually had them tell us this, like, students aren't going to benefit from using an AI to try and figure out my course. I don't know if that's true. I can get it to output some pretty good math equations, but I think it's inherently disciplinary. And I think if I would go with, I might even go as far as to say like a meta major idea. So you're familiar with, students generally have 1 of 8 tracks, and they generally change majors within that track. So they're interested in healthcare in some way. And maybe they wanted to be a doctor, but now it switches to public health or something like that. So that's a meta major. And students tend to stay in their meta majors when they're changing majors. So it might be something that we even handle at that particular level. But I'd say that we're going to look at that across the spectrum and see where those challenges are. And I'm at the very first part now of working through with our accounting faculty what it is. And I have a meeting when I get back in about 3 weeks where they're actually putting me in front of accounting and the business associate dean to talk about what are we going to do about summer semester agents and browsers kind of work. So we're working on it. I don't think I have an answer to just say, here's the silver bullet. I wish I did, but I don't. Yeah, and I'll try to help you with more faculty advice too. Let me think. So I would say being curious and allowing yourself to be free with these agents is so important. I know that almost no faculty member has the time to put in, I'm technically a faculty member too, but I know that almost none of them have the time to put into AI as we have done. I know that. And I know that teaching something that you're not an expert in is terrifying, and actually sometimes not even possible. And so I think for me, when I'm working with students, I use radical transparency. It's critical for me. And so I would just tell them, look, I'm at the start of my AI journey with you all, and here's how I use the tool. And I would do the modeling component. Like, how do I evaluate that? And then I'd involve my students in the process and say, what are you using it for? How are you working with it? Show me what you're doing. Tell me what you're doing. Let's figure out how to make this work for us in this course or program of study. So I would say that's probably the best advice I can give you.
The microphone is a little intimidating. I'm over here. Sorry,
Okay. Oh, there you are. Sorry, in the middle.
I just wanted to know if you, I don't know if your university has done this or if you're aware of any environmental impact studies that have been done on both the creation of these agentic learning models and the anticipated widespread, I suppose, adoption of them. So if you're aware of environmental impact on more usage of AI and learning and creation of systems within learning for.
Yeah, so I'm aware of some of the environmental impacts. In particular, water use is a massive, massive problem because you need a lot of water for cooling. And if they do eventually end up with the nuclear power plants to power the data centers that are doing the AI, it's going to need more water because that requires water for cooling. So I can tell you that I'm aware of the impacts, but I have not looked at the research in it. So I don't know the overall dollar amounts or the overall human cost to some of these things. I will tell you that those things are very important. They are, because if we can't sustain it, it won't exist any longer, right? It will stop. It will cease to exist. So I understand the critical, I would say existential nature of your question. I can also tell you that I've taken this from the perspective, principally from a student perspective, like I'm going to graduate, I'm going to be out in the workforce, and what do I need to do to be successful? And from a faculty standpoint of, I need to do my job, and every day I get asked to do something else, and nobody pays me more for that. And I don't know how to solve all these problems that are given to me. I mean, another syllabus requirement, another whatever requirement it might be. So I've been taking it from that perspective, and I will tell you that I am ignorant of some of those things. I do know that they're important. I do know some of the costs that are associated with it. I do know what they're doing. I came from, so before I was in Athens, Georgia. I was in College Station, Texas, at Texas A&M University. And there was a huge ballot initiative over there just this last year on building a data center. And it was very divided. And they eventually ended up moving the data center. So I think community involvement in this is really important, and figuring out, like, how do we do this appropriately and well, and what's the right solution going to be for the power needs, the water needs, and the human cost that has. So I acknowledge your question and say, kind of working on a different side of the wave. But I know it's really important. That's the best non-answer I can give you.
Hi, Daniela Petergeben. I'm a professor in justice studies. So I'm still trying to wrap my mind around the actual student learning.
Yes.
And how we can ensure that that actually happens.
Yes.
Because you say like the AI could function as sort of like a first level of review, and then there's the faculty member, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of like looking at the current practice though, yeah, is even if, and I appreciate that you actually build a model that limits sort of the source material,
Mm-hmm.
right? But the students can, and they already do, they can very easily take the source material and say, hey, here's a critical question, a discussion question, right?
Mm-hmm.
They throw all that into the prompt,
Mm-hmm.
and they get exactly that answer. And that's something we struggle with. And one thing that I particularly find frustrating is it's kind of like like the catch-22 of AI, right? Is we want it to be as human as possible.
Mm-hmm.
The AI develops in lightning speed, but we actually have no tools to gauge that tell us, yeah, that is created 70% by AI, whatever, right?
Right.
So it's great for me, like you say that the humans, we are still the judges, and we are already judging. I know this is written by AI. But what if the student says, no, it's not? You doubt me that I can use that kind of language? What am I going to say? So this is the one, and I've been a lifelong proponent of online education. I've been teaching for over 20 years online, but especially in the online environment, like I find these hurdles that I can't get myself over. Like I don't know if you really think of these larger implications. Like how will this actually work?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. So how are we getting learning in these systems when a student could be using an AI on the side? Like not just the AI that's they're interacting with for the course, but then they get their AI on the side to help them with that course. Okay, so my vision for the system is to design it so that that is a desirable outcome. because the student is then learning how to use the AI, and they have to put that material back into our application, and our application is going to assess how they have done with that. And so it's looking at the speed at which they do things. And so a quick prompt coming back in, it would note that. It would go, that's kind of weird. What's going on there? And look at the student learning history from that and see, was that something that was developmentally appropriate? Was that something we would have expected that student to do? Because remember, the system is going to be modeling that student behavior and matching it to determine mastery. And so I would like to find a way that we are educating students to both use AI appropriately and building their disciplinary knowledge. I want to do both. And so the vision for the system is to bring that together. I'm not going to try and ask every faculty member to learn to be an expert in LLM use in their discipline. I'm not going to try and ask that. But I am going to try and build a system that will help a student get to that rudimentary level of AI proficiency, so when they go into the workforce, they'll be able to use it confidently and unambivalently. So I would say that in some ways what you're describing is something that I want eventually, but we're also going to have to be thoughtful in how we design the system so that it knows kind of what's going on there. There are a host of tools out there right now that will try and determine percentage authorship from AI. Visible AI is one of them, all those other, they're all out there. And I think what we're trying to do is build a tool that's a little bigger than that, right? Because the student's going to be inputting things, they're going to be asking questions about data, they're going to be, maybe it's an art history, they're going to be talking about the art that they're looking at. We're going to be taking that in and really building the model of the student to see where, did the model of the student progress? Did we have learning towards that goal? Are they coming closer to what the faculty member described as mastery? And so that's what we're going to try and do. Did that kind of get at your question? Yeah, you're kind of not sold yet. We're going to build. We're going to keep building. Hi. Oh, there you are. Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I am a graduate student and a research assistant, so we're kind of thinking always about like the next question in my classes right now. And something that I've seen from my classmates, both in undergrad and in graduate, is the very creative ways that they can go around learning.
Yes.
When a student doesn't want to learn, they'll really get, they'll really learn the system well rather than learning the discipline, as you were saying.
Yes.
And so I guess that this is kind of a question that goes off of some of the other questions that were asked. And if the students are consistently asking questions, which is wonderful to try and understand the content, I guess I'll say my worry, and I want to know your thoughts on it. My worry is that they will end up having less of a capacity for thinking critically and coming up with their own answers and resilience for hardship in their education and also post-grad. I think it's an incredible tool to ask these questions and to learn, but I'm just kind of imagining once they get their job, they're given a task and they ask a question, and then they ask a question, and then they ask a question. So I'm curious what you have to say about that.
Yeah, so all the creative ways that we can avoid learning with, and how do we make sure the system doesn't allow that to happen, kind of. So we've been struggling with this so those of you in business schools, you know the CBK, the Common Body of Knowledge. We've been struggling with the CBK courses because oftentimes a business student is coming in and they know they want to be in marketing, but they have to take accounting, management, marketing, the 5 basic courses there, and they're not interested in 4 of them. And that's true for every business student. They're not interested in 4 of them. And so anytime you have a high stakes environment, you must pass these 5 courses to get into the business school, and low interest, you will get cheating. That is cheating. That's how you get it. And so we're trying to figure out ways to make that different. Like, how do you better integrate the material in those CBK courses such that a marketing student knows why that's relevant to what they're going to do later. So I'd say first, think about how you're talking about learning with your students. How are you helping them to understand what learning is, why they're doing the learning that they're doing? And it goes back to that radical transparency. Because honestly, when I was starting to do this, I had peer evaluation of writing going on, and a lot of my fellow faculty members got resistance from their students. Their students were like, why are you making me grade my fellow students' papers for you? Well, what I did was I reframed the question for them on the first day of class. And what I did is I put Bloom's taxonomy up, and I defined the levels for them, and I said, all right, what jobs need only application of knowledge? What jobs need creativity? What jobs need analysis? And they listed those jobs, and then I just asked them, which jobs do you want? Got up to the evaluation stage, all the hands are up. I'm like, great, you all want to learn how to evaluate. I've got a tool for that, peer evaluation. It's reframing it so that the student knows why you're asking them to do it and gets a better perspective on what they're going to gain from that experience. Is it going to solve it for everybody? No, it will not. But it's bringing those folks along who know they need to learn something. And honestly, it's going to be different in the workforce, right? The people who really did the learning are going to be successful in the workforce. The people who get stuck and they sit there asking questions of the LLM and they tell their boss, I didn't get anything done because I can't figure out what it is I'm supposed to be doing. Sorry. So we need to help our students know that that's the environment that they're getting into. Think about, why are you in college? What are you doing here? Why are we asking you to learn these things? And this is something that if we use AI appropriately for, in what it can do, we can spend time with our students on these things in conversations, face-to-face if necessary, to try and help them get the perspective on their education that they need. So I would say, let's figure out how to free up some time for faculty members to do that important work, because that's important work. What you just described is important work. And that's what I'd say. Yes. So got one here.
Hello, Dr. Balfour. My name is Albert. Thanks for your lecture. Thanks for your time.
Sure.
I understand part of this is to augment the learning experience for students. And so kind of based on the last two questions, my original question for you was, you know, because you spoke about guardrails and how those are critically important. And I'm wondering, in terms of maybe the guardrails have a play as far as like parameters. So like what kind of parameters are in place to keep students from abusing the technology? And, you know, maybe just a basic copy and paste. And you may have already addressed this, but I'm looking for just maybe some more clarity on if there are parameters in place, or if that's really something that is still being worked on and like ironed out.
So it's a good question. Like, how formal are all these guardrails at this point in time? So ARIA's guardrails are designed to be around those things that you would normally think you don't want to put into an LLM. So it has an automated set of don't put social security numbers, don't put credit card numbers, all of those sorts of things, which has nothing to do with learning, right? So it has those guardrails built in. And then it has the ability to put in custom guardrails. And I think we're going to need to work pretty intensely with those custom guardrails. For those of you who do a little bit of coding, it's all in regex, and regex is not fun to write, so let the AI write your regex for you. But figure out what it is that you need in your guardrail system, and then figure out how to implement them. So we're not there yet. We're just starting to incorporate the ARIA platform to be sure that we're making sure that we've got all the logs that we need for checking student learning. But it is something that we're kind of thinking about. Like, how is it that we're determining that the student is progressing, right? Because we want to see, it's not just how do you do on this one prompt for this one learning activity. It's what does the first learning activity look like compared to the second, to the third, to the fourth? Are they growing? Are they starting to do something different that would indicate mastery to us? So again, we're building that model of the student and then matching it against the model of mastery and trying to make sure that that student is moving towards the mastery model. Does that help a little? Okay. It's not completely solved yet. None of these things are completely solved yet.
We're just going to have one more question because we are out of time.
Okay.
And at this time, I just want to remind everyone that we do have a meet and greet at 1 p.m. in Dixon Hall 438. An email was sent out just in case you have some questions that you want to ask Dr. Balfour. But we do have one more question, and then we'll end the session. Thank you.
Hi, thank you very much. Very interesting. Since it's based on very extensive leveraging of disciplinary mastery and understanding, how do you see this working with, let's say, interdisciplinary courses, which, by the way, would also be heavier on what? Things like judgment, empathy, cultural context. How do you see that working?
I haven't hit that yet. But from what I've seen in the way that we're able to put the materials together, what I know about interdisciplinary research teams, it's not about being able to use your discipline's methodology in any context. It's about the multiple methodologies that you then all bring together, right? And so we would try to find a way to work with an interdisciplinary research group to pull that together, really understanding what it is that they need their students to learn to be successful in this particular interdisciplinary environment, and then helping to build the courses that are going to do that. So one of the things that I did in my past was I was involved in digital humanities. And digital humanities is inherently interdisciplinary, right? So I worked with computer scientists, I worked with librarians, and with folks across the liberal arts and what you would think of as the HSS community here. And that's why I know what's involved in interdisciplinary research and why you need to build it differently. And I would say that we would just be tailoring it to that context as well. So we would be thinking about it in those terms. This is why it's really critical to be an expert when you're working with these systems. Because if you don't know those nuances, you're gonna miss a beat. And it won't work. Like what you're describing, if we had just come from the idea of one methodology, it wouldn't work. So we need to have a better understanding of what it is our faculty need the tools to do. And so that would be my answer to the question. I would start a journey with you and figure out how to do it well. Thanks.
Today, Steve, and to repeat Lynn's words here, if your question hasn't been answered yet and you're free at 1 o'clock, come to Dixon Hall, room on the 4th floor, or room 438, the Dean's Conference Room. Steve will be here and be happy to meet with you on the sidelines. Thank you so much, and stay tuned.